It's the moment you've all been waiting for, the brand new Yonex Ezone version 8. One of the most used rackets on tour, 20% of the WTA and ATP top 200 use an Ezone. If that isn't a mark of quality, I don't know what is.
The fact that I use it.
There you go.
That's the real stamp of approval. The Yonex Ezone is one of the finest tennis rackets in the world, my favourite, and we've got the brand new version 8s to test today.
We are testing all of the Japanese-made Ezones, and we have 4 different 98s. We have the 98 Plus, we have the 98 Tour, the 98 and the 98L.
We also have all the 100s and beyond. So we've got the 100, we've got the 100L, the 100SL, the 105, and the 100 Plus. There is also in the new Ezone range the slightly sort of lower down ones that are Chinese made. This would include, Ben.
We have the Alpha L and the Alpha SL. There is also a new Ezone Play.
There's an Ezone Ace, there's an Ezone 115, and there's an Ezone 110.
There is, of course, a whole range of junior rackets as well. So whoever you are, wherever you play, however good, bad, old, young, ugly or good looking, there is gonna be an Ezone for you. And today we are gonna try and direct you a little bit towards the ones that are gonna suit you most.
So let's get into the specs.
So as you can see from the table, we've got 4 98s in the new Ezone. All of these are 98 square inch head, as you'd expect, with differing weights as you go through, all with 16 by 19 patterns. If you look more closely at the 98s, you'll see where they shift. Obviously, as we go up, we've got a little bit more weight in the 98 Tour, a little bit less weight in the 98L, as you'd expect. And with these frames, with the different weights, the balance point shifts, as you can see. The shortest balance on the 98, with the greatest being on the 98L, to try and give that balance, give some of that power back. In the 100s, we've obviously got a 100 square inch head, and you can see the weights as they shift around. The one thing to notice would be that the 100SL is a 16-18 pattern, so a bit wider, a bit more string movement. Obviously, as the weight changes, we get some balance point changes. Unfortunately, we haven't got balance for the 100 Plus or the 105 because they weren't provided to us by Yonex at this point. We will update the video when we get those. We've got really great consistency across the ranges, so across all the 98s you'll see that the beam widths are spot on as you go across, and again the same thing other than the 105 as you go through the 100s. Again, all the same beam width. Racket's going to play very similar in terms of length. Obviously the 2 outliers are the Plus, as you'd expect, just half an inch longer on those frames in both the 98 and in the 100. A lot of you will be asking about the swing weight. Now, because this was under strict testing conditions, we weren't able to test the rackets any further than the information that we've got here. So we are not able to provide a swing weight at the current time, but as soon as we have the rackets in our hand again, we will get them on our machine and we will get those swing weights to you.
Okay, so before we get into things, just a little note, there is 11 rackets in this range. We cannot possibly review all 11 rackets in one video, so this is your overview. This is our first thoughts, our general impressions of the new Ezone range. If you would like a more detailed review of a specific frame, guess what? They're coming up, aren't they, Joe?
Stay tuned. We're going to be reviewing the 98, the 98 Tour, the 100, the 100L, all in great detail. We're also going to compare them against their old versions specifically, so you can really get into the depths of Ezone madness and decide whether it is time for an upgrade for you.
Also, we will be testing them against their brand rivals, putting them against some of the other power frames from the other manufacturers to see how they come out overall.
I can tell you which one's going to win. So the new Ezone promises a greater sweet spot.
Yeah, 1% bigger. It's already 7% bigger because of the isometric shape. What Yonex have done in this new version, they've extended the top length, and that has made the sweet spot a whole 1% bigger.
It's also going to give you more power, believe it or not.
4.8% more power, and that is due to a slightly thicker beam up round here, around the top and this top corner over here.
Fantastic. So what I really love is dwell time, and this also is going to give you more ball pocketing.
Yeah, 6% more flex and feel on contact.
This additional flex, which gives this ball pocketing dwell time, is because it is tapered as you come down into the throat. So it goes from wider to thinner, in case you didn't know what tapered meant.
Yes, and before you all start typing in the comments, these percentages are in relation to the old Ezone. Now, Yonex have assured us this is the same on every single version. So the 100 is 1% bigger sweet spot than the version 7 100. The new 98 has 4.8% more power than the version 7. So it completely doesn't matter what racket you're using, these are compared to the old version, which was already very nice.
Yes, it was.
There is lots of clever additions for this, but the main one is the addition of Minolon.
I never thought I'd be on a tennis court talking about bagworms.
Minomushi, do you mean?
Exactly.
So bagworms are the revolutionary driving force behind Yonex's new Ezone. They've put these worms to work,
Yeah.
hopefully in a humane way.
It's about time they got put to work.
Yes, they've been coasting for far too long, the Minomushi, and they have spun the finest of soft and smooth fibres, which have been woven in between the graphite plates either side of the shaft to create the luxurious feel that you come to expect from a new Ezone version 8.
This is a net-like structure, and Yonex are calling it Minolon.
Minolon.
Minolon. Developed by the Cower Company Limited. Shout out to the Cower Company.
Those harsh taskmasters.
This plush feel has always been present in the Ezone, but it is even greater in here. If you want plush, if you want luxurious, you need bagworms in your life.
Apparently. Who knew?
Maybe a mattress would
Yes.
be good.
That's too much effort. Look how big that is.
But in an Ezone, it is terrific.
We've asked around, no one knows how many bagworms it takes to make a tennis racket.
Adam, how many bagworms does it take to make the racket? These Ezone version 8s also maintain the old tech that was in the previous version. So we're talking VDM,
We're talking oval pressed shafts.
we're talking the isometric head.
And 2G NAMD speed. All the things that you loved about the old Ezone range are still here in the new one, and so it won't be a dramatic departure. Or will it? We're about to find out, aren't we?
Naturally, we've strung all of these rackets with Yonex's Polytour Pro at 52. They are all strung at the same time, give or take that someone's got to actually string them, but they're all strung at the same tension, the same time, in the same conditions, with air pressure better than the one inside this bubble. We have chosen Polytour Pro because it is a birthday this year for the famous string.
Yes, and it is its 15th anniversary. Rather than giving it a crystal, I don't know,
Ball?
Yeah, we're going to put it in some E-zones and put it through its paces.
Love you, Polytour Pro. So we have just come off court, having played with the new Ezone range for the first time, and what a very enjoyable experience it was. In its dazzling blast blue, the new Ezone certainly has had a makeover.
Yes, it looks a little bit more playful than the old very serious one, doesn't it?
It does, yes, and it's fine. I don't choose my rackets based on how they look. I never particularly like the way the Ezones look, but this one is brighter, looks quite smart, but how it plays is more important.
Well, how does it play then, Joe? You are Mr. Ezone.
Yes, I am. So I think shout out again to the bagworms because it is certainly more plush. The overriding thing that I would take across the whole range is it does feel really, really luxurious. There isn't really a better word to use than plush, which is the word that Yonex use, because
Yes.
it feels very solid but soft enough at times. It's got beautiful feel in hand, beautiful connection with ball.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always enjoyed the Ezone. It's a good racket, but it's not one I've particularly liked playing with or wanted to keep picking up and using. I think things may have changed slightly because it feels so remarkably different to the old ones.
Yeah.
But interestingly, without playing particularly differently.
Yes.
Because there's always this risk when a brand releases a new version of a racket, they have to develop and enhance and improve without changing the sort of overall playing characteristics of the racket. And I would say Yonex have done a fantastic job at striking that balance just right.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you are getting out of all of them that we played with. You are getting that little uptick in power. You're also getting certainly that plush feel, that sort of living in together with that plush luxurious feel, that ball pocketing, that dwell time. is certainly evident, more so than the previous version.
Yeah, I completely agree. The power is noticeable. 4.8%.
It's quite a lot.
I think it might be more than that. It certainly feels like more than that. But again, almost magically, every single brand promises more power and more control. I don't think control is the word. Comfort is the word. Is the word. This feels so much more comfortable and easy to use and nice to use, whilst delivering so much more power.
Yes.
It really is a sort of a lovely feeling to strike a tennis ball with a new Ezone.
Yes. I would say, as a slight caveat, in some of the frames that power seems to be a little uncontrollable for my taste, but in other frames it is spot on. The Ezone, or Easy One, because you can generate power easily.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon they named the racket and then came up with that, or came up with that and then named the racket?
Don't know. We'll ask him. In this new version, it's even easier.
Yes, there is more power, there is more feel, and that might just change which rackets are for which players, and that's what our more detailed reviews will be finding out. But if you like a racket that feels comfy, that adds power into your shot, you're going to find an Ezone. You will find an Ezone that you will like, because there's so many.
Yeah, and if you don't want to swing big, if you like to keep your swing short, you're going to get loads of power on the defense. The Ezone has always been fantastic at that, and this version again has just stepped that up a level.
Yes, so I have played for years and years and years with a control frame. So using all of these, I actually sort of gravitated towards the 100. I found it a little bit easier to use. I know you found the 100 too powerful.
I did, yeah.
And actually, in the 98 tour that you currently use, it's sort of everything's the same, just feels nicer.
Yes, exactly. So the racket that I would choose out this range after sort of first play is the 98 Tour, which is the one that I'm currently using in the old model. It feels very similar in terms of outcome, how it feels through the swing, through the contact, except for the fact that this new one feels much more plush. It feels like I'm enveloped in velvet.
Yes. Yeah, and the one thing I would say, and this is a question we get asked more than anything else probably in the shop, is I've got the old version, should I try the new one? And sometimes they're not that different, but these really do feel like they are. If you have used an Ezone before, and if you've currently got a version 7 or a version 6, I couldn't recommend enough giving this new one a try, just maybe not the same version. That would be my one consideration, is you might find dropping down to a 98 if you've been using the 100, or going up to a 98 Tour if you've been using that, for example.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of having such a broad range and a very big tick in the Ezone box.
Absolutely. As always, don't forget to like, follow, share, and definitely subscribe so you never miss a thing from PH Tennis.